Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cats. Everybody, Cantonese Cats here. Mara to the moon. I made a video such as basically detailing my thoughts on Mara about a few months ago, when price was in the low teens. And I still feel that way today, even though it's just been delayed. The Ichimoku cloud analysis that's being shown here is on the monthly chart, and what you really see is you have a cloud here, you have all these red line, blue lines. What do all these things mean, right? Well, pretty simple. You have a cloud over here. It's being basically calculated by the previous price action, and also gives you, future cloud here kind of used as resistance and support levels. What you're really seeing here is that the last cycle had really broke above the cloud, but had a false breakout, broke down underneath the cloud, and right now we're underneath of it. And we're getting close back to the cloud potentially, right? What happened last time we got really close to the cloud, we broke through, went above it, and came back, was unable to have any kind of bullish continuation, just broke down, and this is where we are. During this whole process, we also have a red line and blue line. Red line is called the Kijun, or the baseline, is lagging. Blue line here is called the Tenkan, or the conversion line, and is leading. Wherever the leading line cross over the lagging line, or the Tenkan had a bullish crossover, the Kijun, you can see like over here, you actually didn't really have like a cross per se, but you had the fusion of these two in what they call a katana, and really just kind of shot price up over here for about like a year, right? So far we had a bullish cross that happened back in February 2024. Price kind of hovered underneath of the Tenkan and Kijun for like about almost what would be like a few months now. And we also had the same thing happen here. You had the bullish cross, but price was underneath of it, kind of building up a lot of energy underneath of it, maybe trying to break out, but not quite yet because it's still underneath resistance, still building a lot of energy. When this was happening, it was happening on declining volume. When this is happening now with the consolidation over the last 9 or 8 months, it's been on declining volume. We've had an uptick of volume so far for the month of October, like we had an uptick over here so far for the month of October in 2020. Right, this is almost exactly the same time frame, almost exact same morphology in terms of where we are right now on the monthly Ichimoku cloud, and almost the same volume profile here in terms of that. Now, this cycle does seem a little bit slower because all these miners, a lot of them have really done absolutely nothing for about 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Some of them even went down a lot, went up a lot, and went down a lot. So it was extremely a brutal time for a lot of people, but I still think Mara's to go into the moon, because I think we are at a very, very similar morphology over here, and we are having some increased volume here. And so far for the month of October, again, this month is not done yet, but so far we're starting to kind of reclaim the Kijun over here on slightly increased volume. All these things are promising. Now, the other thing to look at is a 2-week Ichimoku cloud. You can see how price kind of been hovering inside the 2-week Ichimoku cloud and kind of hit almost the bottom, not quite, but I would say that's essentially a backtest of the Ichimoku cloud down over here, right? What happened last time? Last time you had price broke inside the 2 Ichimoku cloud and eventually went back inside, tested the bottom of it, and then once it did that, it just started running like crazy, right? I mean, granted, so far you have a little bit of like a falling 3 look over here, you have a bullish engulfing look over here, so it's a little bit different, but I like to point out that the volume is really supporting. There's this increasing bullish volume that is coming, kind of like how over here you have the increasing bullish volume that are coming, right? And we tested the bottom of the cloud, looks like it might be ready to run, looks like it might be getting ready to run, right? So a lot of these things are very, very similar in terms of morphology. It just makes me feel more bullish about what's happening with Mara. The other thing too with Mara is it really has tested the 100-week moving average almost perfectly and bounced from it. The last time this has happened, when you basically have the negative sloping 100 moving average turning to positive sloping, was using it as support, bounced from it very strongly, and it just went up, way up, right? Did the rest of the bull cycle that went up for about a year and a half. After that, came back down, back tested, starting to, the trends are really exhausting. So the 100 moving average also exhausting too. It started from going really positive sloping to more flat. Was able to use that as support here for a couple of months, but because it's becoming flat, signaling potential trend change, it just broke down underneath of it. And when it broke down underneath of it, it didn't even do an immediate back test. It just went shot all the way down, right? Eventually made a inverted head and shoulder pattern, was able to break above of it, hit its target, came back down, back test, but not until it used that as resistance, right? It got rejected over here by 100 moving average, but guess what's happening right now? We got the 100 moving average, we flipped that from over here from support to resistance, went down further, but we have broke through that on increasing volume, and then we've been kind of back testing on declining volume that has been brutal for about 10 months. We've touched the 100 week moving average, and I think we're getting maybe ready to kind of run here after we get rid of resistance. But anyway, so far it's a very bullish thing. You're able to get a moving average and flip it from resistance to support. This is generally a very, very bullish thing. A couple other things to show you too would be to look at an indicator here. I haven't looked at it for quite some time, and this is called the Black Cat L3 Banker Fund Flow Trend Oscillator. And this is basically a way to use volume and trading sizes and price action to trying to capture whale momentum. And whenever you have this yellow bar over here, that signals a little bit of a trend change, and the signal is that basically it's a buy signal or bullish signal, if you will. We just had that a couple of weeks ago. Last time when we had that, price really went from what, like, I guess it went from like $7 all the way to like 35, right? I mean, you didn't buy the bottom. The bottom was like a 3, but who did? Right? When this flash over here, if you were bought around here, you would have made like a 5x from where you were bought. Right? The signal has just flashed again. The signal flashed again before that over here around $8, and price went up to around like 19. Obviously, that was not a sustainable bull trend. Ended up just going back down here, make a lower low. And the rest is history, right? Right now, you got a lot of people really sucked in by this big giant move that happened in October, November, December. The same thing's probably going to happen again, except this one, a lot of people might end up being a little bit more skeptical, because what happened last time, a lot of people might end up getting a little bit more skeptical, and I hope they do. I hope they continue to remain off the sidelines and don't come in until later. But that's another thing that is really, kind of making me bullish. Actually, let me show you the monthly version of the Black Cat Trend Oscillator. It flashed a buy signal over here, really close to the bottom. And it flashed a buy signal over here again at this green candle over here. Now this green candle we still haven't really broken underneath that green candle. So it's actually a pretty good buy signal. And the downtrend's just been on declining volume, so I think it doesn't really take a whole lot of volume to really push things up a lot higher. And yeah, that's my story with Mara, and I'm gonna kind of stick with it. Now, a couple other things too, if you're asking me in terms of where I think Mara would go this cycle, a lot of people are gonna say there's dilution being factored in, it's never gonna make its previous all-time high, and don't get into minors because it's no good. Well, you have to think about it. Okay, so based on timing wise where we are in the cycle, the exact same spot in the cycle, even the exact same month, right? October, increasing volume here, increasing volume over here, right? Almost exact same spot as we were from last cycle. Where's this big giant like bullish engulfing candle or God candle, if you will? What happened in November 2020? Is it going to happen in November 2020? It depends on one thing. I really think that the liquidity for a stock like Mara is really more closely synced with the IWM. What is going on with IWM is that IWM is the index fund representing the Russell 2000, which are the small cap stocks. You can see that generally right before it breaks back above all-time high, you have a couple of candles over here that looks like they're kind of hovering, getting ready to go. And then when they do, they just push things up, way up, right? You have a little bit of like ascending triangle look over here, a little bit of an ascending triangle look over there. So we'll see whether or not November is going to be the month. I do not know. It may not be. It could very well be postponed a lot later. Maybe the cycle is indeed a little bit slower than the last, right? But what happened the time before you had the God candle that broke above to all-time high? You have very similar hovering 3 or 4 candles over here before it broke above, right? And then the cycle before that, you have a very, very similar morphology over here. You actually have like maybe 6, 7, 8 candles over here hovering around the area, forming a cup over here before breaking out above, right? Forming a cup over here before breaking out above, right? Forming a cup over here before breaking out above, right? Forming a cup over here before potentially breaking out above, right? November of 2020 was when Mara was breaking out because IWM got candles. So the small cap stocks that are just way over leverage, like Mara is, they're gonna go do some pretty crazy things, right? Are we having the same thing happening for IWM? Is November or December going to be a month where things just pump and then Mara just kind of goes along with it? I do not know. But that's one thing in consideration, and I think that a lot of people that worry that these miners are underperforming Bitcoin and they're forming these narratives is because of dilution and all that. Also forgot that, you know, there's a substantial period of time before where these miner stocks can also underperform Bitcoin until they don't. And narrative sounds great. It's like, you know, if you get into a car accident and you wonder to yourself, oh, it must be because I ate a burrito that day. Probably, you know, I don't know. I mean, I can't dispute that logic. It would make sense if you ate a bad burrito and you have bad stomach and you can't focus on the road and you get into a car accident. Possible. But these are growth companies. They have to raise capital to give you the most state-of-the-art machine, to give you the hash rates that are necessary, and to grow and to compete. They don't just dilute out of thin air. When they dilute, they're trying to use that money to create value. And the value is maybe to mine one of the most important assets created by human beings ever. I do not want to go into the philosophy of that. I'm just saying that if you're buying the narratives, if there's dilution, then it should be priced in. And if there's dilution, it is being priced in, and you're still hovering, and it still looks like this is like a big giant reaccumulation zone over here with declining volume, then wow, this is incredibly strong. Like, I don't know what else to say about that. Now, if you ask me how high I think Mara is going to go, I would say this. I don't know. I can speculate. Oh, actually, I already drew all this stuff here already. So this is the chart that I have here. First of all, we have the Fibonacci level. I'm going to change the Fibonacci level here so I don't sound like a crazy person. I'm going to change that from log scale to regular scale. I would say this. I think that there is a good chance for Mara to hit his previous high over here around 83. I see that happening. Now, is it going to go beyond that? I think that's possible. If there's a lot of irrationality, if Bitcoin goes to like 175,000 or something crazy, then there's a possibility where it can hit even the arc up here around 300, around 350, around 400. I think that's a possibility. If Bitcoin does something like a 3x, I think that there's a possibility for Mara to make a 10x from where it's at right now. If not a little bit more, I think there's a possibility, especially IWM pumps to like 300, all the way from like 220 something right now to like 300. I think there's a possibility where Mara just goes absolutely insane and just hit like 200, 300, 400. I think that's possible. If it doesn't, then I have nothing else to say, right? Then the cycle might not even hit the previous cycle high here. It might end up hitting arc over here, get to the 40s, and that's it. There's always that possibility because it can also just hit the top of the Ichimoku cloud here and just end the cycle, right? That's always a possibility. But if you ask me, I think Mara to the moon. And if you ask me, I think that is more likely for it to break its previous high over here on the cycle and hit at least the 1.618, which is going to be $133, which is going to be around like a 7 or 8x from where it's at right now. We are underneath resistance here at the Gen line over here. And this resistance here has been resistance for a very long time and even serve as support over here. So this is a very important level that we need to break through. If we break through, then we'll talk about this arc over here. And if we break through the arc, then we talk about the horizontal line over here. If we break through the horizontal line, then we talk about the arc up here. One thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. I see this breaking out and at least hit the arc over here over the next few months, which is still a pretty significant gain from where it is at right now. Because price right now is like $19, and you're talking about potentially doubling, tripling your money. I'm just going to leave it as that. I just want to say that a lot of times people don't understand that a bull market can be extremely irrational. They think that what happened in 2022 is something that you should take home as a lesson, and that what happened from 2020 to 2021 won't happen again because the Fed has been spending money like crazy. That is just factually not true. Because if you look at Bitcoin, and I implore you to look at Bitcoin, and I'm going to go actually look at the Bitstamp version of Bitcoin. I implore you to look at Bitcoin here and to think about what happened in 2015 to 2017. Did the Fed print money like crazy? Not really. I mean, they were printing money for sure, but not really, right? So why is it that over here is all because of money printing? Over here is like, just regular money printing, and it's just make a parabolic move up. What we having right now is we have sufficiently backtested this top of the candles over here, and we found support, and it looks like we're going higher. We have found support at a rising Tenkan over here on the monthly. It looks like it wants to go higher. I mean, like, honestly, I think Mara is going to do pretty well in an environment where Bitcoin does well and IWM or Russell 2000 does well. I just think that that's going to be the case. Another thing too to consider is I think we might just be at maybe at the fourth or the fifth inning of the entire ball game, and the end of the ball game may be a little bit more exciting than what we're looking at right now. You have a lot of miners across the board that have reclaimed a rising 20-month moving average, and when you have a rising 20-month moving average, things can go crazy, right? We basically had it as resistance here, and we backtested it for Mara. Is it happening with the other miners? Yes. You look at CleanSpark, the same thing is happening. You look at Bitfarms, the same thing is happening. Look at Cypher, the same thing is happening. Looking at Iron, the same thing is happening. Looking at Wolf, the same thing is happening. Looking at BTBT, the same thing is happening. Looking at Riot, for the most part, the same thing is happening, except the price is underneath a rising 20, so it has a lot more work to done, right? HUD 8, rising 20, right? Same morphology. Hive, same morphology. You're able to kind of reclaim the 20-month moving average here, even for Hive, right? DigiHost, you had some pretty nice move recently that had pushed it back above a flattening 20 here. BitDeer is trying to flatten the 20-month moving average here again, right? So a lot of these miners are going through some very, very similar thing. And you can also reflect that upon the GMI, the miners ETF. You've basically seen very similar morphology here. So I think that this might be like the fourth or the fifth inning. When I see something like this, where there's a fundamental change in terms of trend from it being negative sloping to positive sloping, I think there's a chance for things to kind of run up a lot higher over time. So I'm going to leave this label as Mara to the moon, and hopefully you understand what it is that I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to tell you what's going to happen. I just see a lot of similarities between what happened this time and last time, and I just see a little bit of writing on the wall, and I'm positioned accordingly. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then I lose money. I am not all in. I don't think anybody really should be all in. It's not financial advice. But I'm in. I'm in enough for me to feel pain if it doesn't work out, and for me to feel a lot of gains if it does. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.